As the novel coronavirus crisis deepens, how China handles the latest outbreak in Shanghai will be a key test of whether its post-Wuhan experience can be replicated across the country. The emergence of new cases in the eastern city after nearly 2 months with no infections has sparked fears that China's largest economic center could become a new epicenter of contagion. Shanghai's leaders want to stay ahead of any problem, so city officials are using a new approach to controlling the disease. They are isolating some areas instead of entire cities or provinces. Wei Zhongping is an expert on infectious diseases. He says Shanghai has to act quickly when it discovers new cases. He calls the situation there very dangerous. The number of coronavirus cases in Shanghai has increased by more than 100 since late last month, according to health officials. The city has reported 55 new cases in the first 3 days of last week alone, officials said Wednesday. Shanghai, which was the first Chinese city to report a coronavirus case on January 18, has not reported any new locally transmitted infections for 16 consecutive days. But the city's Pudong New Area, one of the first places in China to reopen its economy after the coronavirus outbreak, has been re-entering lockdown since Thursday as it battled a new wave of infections imported from overseas. The local government announced on Friday that anyone returning from overseas would be moved into government-designated quarantine facilities and have their health carefully monitored. The new measures have split Shanghai's financial hub into high and low-risk areas, with some people unable to return home or leave the city, while others are required to stay put to avoid a possible community outbreak. Enjoying the video so far? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more informative content. Also, let us know in the comments section any other topics you would like us to cover. Thanks! China's National Health Commission said on Saturday that all 31 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities on the mainland had reported new cases brought from abroad. Shanghai is taking measures to control the risk of the COVID-19 epidemic, as the number of confirmed cases in the city rose to 14 on Tuesday, including one patient in critical condition. The city has raised its emergency response to level 3, according to a notice issued by Shanghai's Epidemic Prevention and Control Headquarters on Tuesday afternoon. The first case of COVID-19 infection named Stealth Omicron in the city was reported on January 19. In the following days, people who had close contact with infected patients were tested positive for COVID-19. Such rapid growth of infected cases within a short period have been described as outbreaks within outbreaks, which poses a severe threat to Shanghai's effort to contain the epidemic, said Zheng Guang, chief epidemiologist with China's Center for Disease Prevention and Control at a press conference on Tuesday. To curb the further spread of the virus in the city, Shanghai has taken strict control measures, including shutting down some residential communities and neighborhoods in downtown areas where more confirmed cases have been reported. Shanghai is a key area and an important gateway for epidemic prevention and control, Zheng said. The risk of COVID-19 in China's financial capital has soared to its highest level since the pandemic began, with the city's Jinshan district logging its first case in over a month. Experts said the outbreak could be a warning that China's efforts to contain the virus may be faltering as officials ease restrictions and allow people to travel more freely. In recent weeks, China has issued guidelines allowing employees at small and medium-sized companies to return from their hometowns for work, and has made it easier for large groups of people to move freely between cities and provinces. The move was designed to get China's economy back on track after a year of disruptions caused by the pandemic. However, there are fears that COVID-19 cases will rise as millions of migrant workers return from provinces across China and reunite with their families during the Lunar New Year holidays. Even by the standards of Wuhan, the site of the first outbreak, or Beijing, where cases are also rising rapidly, Shanghai is a prized target for the virus. The city of 27 million inhabitants is home to one of China's largest populations of unvaccinated foreigners, and a big cluster of Chinese residents who have recently returned from abroad. It also has one of China's most dense and efficient public transportation systems. If the virus spreads through that population and onto subways, buses, and other public transport, it could spread across the country in short order and overwhelm other cities' healthcare systems with new coronavirus patients. Already, China's government has issued directives to cities nationwide to learn from Shanghai's efforts to contain a new outbreak there. Top officials from China's National Health Commission appeared at a news conference Tuesday to try to reassure the country that everything was under control after images of masked police in hazmat suits went viral online. But late Tuesday night, 5 districts in Shanghai announced that they would go into lockdown, meaning all non-essential businesses would be closed for 14 days and that residents would stay at home unless traveling for medical treatment or work-related activities such as shopping. Authorities in Shanghai have imposed restrictions on movement and travel in the city's financial hub as they seek to contain the spread of coronavirus, triggering panic buying and anger among residents. The city will close residential compounds and lanes that are home to over 5 million people, suspend ferry services between the mainland and Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, shut down cinemas and entertainment venues, and work to stop large gatherings from taking place over the Chinese New Year holiday. In Shanghai, which has recorded 46 cases so far, authorities said they would restrict the flow of people entering the city and carry out 24-hour sterilization at key transport hubs. The city government has moved to lock down 3 residential communities and shut down schools, shopping malls, cinemas, libraries, and museums indefinitely. A scheduled reopening of kindergartens and primary schools on Wednesday was postponed by 2 weeks. The new measures come as China confirmed its first domestic transmission in more than 2 weeks on Tuesday, citing a case in Shanghai's Baoshan district. The new patient had no travel history to high-risk areas or contact with confirmed cases, but had been in close contact with an overseas traveler from Europe. The 1-week lockdown targeting residential communities that have been linked to the new infections underscores the authorities' resolve in containing the spread of the virus amid fears that it could put pressure on hospitals and trigger another wave of infections. The cases represent a spike in infections in Shanghai, following more than 3 months of no new local cases in the city. The authorities have since shut down the wholesale market, which is located near a major transport hub, and imposed strict lockdown measures on the surrounding area. Shanghai has been praised for its handling of previous outbreaks during the pandemic, but experts say the current situation is different and that it could worsen over the coming weeks if authorities fail to get on top of it quickly. Shanghai's recent spike in COVID-19 cases has been a critical test for the country, which was the first to face the pandemic and is now one of the few places moving towards normalcy. In just 3 days from Friday, the number of local infections in Shanghai rose to more than 100 from a single case, prompting authorities to impose lockdowns on 11 residential communities and send tens of thousands of people for testing. The city has now recorded 128 local cases, making it one of China's largest COVID-19 clusters since January, when the virus was first detected in Wuhan and spread throughout the country. The current outbreak also represents one of China's biggest tests so far, as it tries to get back to normal life while keeping the pandemic at bay. In the days that followed, authorities ordered workers back from other provinces where they had traveled for work during the long holiday weekend and quarantined them. Tight coronavirus control in China's financial hub raises concerns about economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. China's financial hub of Shanghai is facing a critical moment in its fight against the novel coronavirus outbreak, as officials have moved to seal off the city's residential compounds and neighborhoods where infections have been reported to contain the spread of the disease. Since last weekend, local governments in the Yangtze River Delta region, which includes Shanghai, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang provinces, have issued tougher measures to curb the spread of COVID-19, including banning residents from leaving their homes or residential compounds. The authorities want to avoid a repeat of the sweeping lockdowns seen in other Chinese cities that have hit business activity hard, but which also brought the disease under control there. China's financial hub has reported about 60 new locally transmitted coronavirus cases since mid-May, but officials have said the outbreak was stabilizing. The city's Communist Party chief said that if handled properly, the outbreak would be short-lived and containable. Please remember to like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.